All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We'll go ahead and get started here. If you got your questions, go ahead and post them. It's either going to be below the video if you are on a mobile device. If you are on a normal laptop, desktop computer, it's going to be to the right of the video. So I usually start with questions that were asked up to an hour before. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. Let me go ahead and refresh this. I'm guessing it's not showing the most recent. There we go. And all right. my throat's a little bit sore today, so I apologize if I'm a little bit scratchy, but we'll make her through. So let's see here. We are starting with, oh wow, we got a bunch in here already. So I'm probably going to go, we have a lot of questions in here already, so I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, folks. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them, so that way everybody can get their questions answered. So Edward C says, Q, hey Q, sometimes with irons, but mostly with driver and 3-wood. I have to really tell myself to slow down and transition at the top, but I rarely manage to. I have worked on the move, which really helped me eliminate my slice and shallow the club, but I have a terrible habit of using my arms to hit at the ball and leaving my body behind. So it's just a matter of training it. You got to, I mean, it's not going to happen like that. You got to put in the reps and go through the course. And basically, you just got to exaggerate the opposite. So right now, you're used to bringing the club, and this is very common. You're used to bringing the club into the golf ball mostly with your arms, right? So you're used to bringing the club into the golf ball more like that. You need to feel like it's basically your body is the only thing bringing the club into the golf ball. So if you see here, I'm not doing anything. My arms in relationship to my chest, or really just kind of my shoulders, really in relationship to my chest, aren't moving. It's only my hips and my middle here that's moving, my rib cage that's really moving everything around. That's the only thing. That's what I would try to feel like. So one thing you can do to kind of improve this a little bit is to do some swings where you're kind of keeping the arms out of the swing, where literally you're just kind of bringing the club back like this and then really bringing the club up like that and not allowing the arms to do anything. It's all just pivot. Now, you're not going to be able to hit the ball very hard because we want to have a blend of these things. We want to be able to have the lower body, the hips and everything create momentum, so that way we can really crack the whip, right? So if I literally don't lift up my arms at all and I just pivot back and through like that, I'm really not going to have a lot of speed. Whereas if I just swung my arms, I could have quite a bit of speed. Now, if I put both of those together, where I pivot and I whip my arms through, I'm going to get the best of both worlds. So if you're used to really just swinging the arms in front, then you need to get used to bringing the arms up here and just having it only be the body that brings through. So practice that a little bit. Bring it down. You got to go slow. You got to train it in. It's every single swing. You got to be trying to do that. If you go and you practice and you're doing it, and then you go out to the course and you just go back to doing what you're doing before, you're just going to be flip flopping back and forth. So you got to every swing. If you do it in every swing, you're trying to do it in every swing, your progress with it will be much faster. So Edward C goes on to say, plus it causes me back pain, not good. I really can swing it properly, but I tend to need to slow down my swing, lose 7 to 10 miles per hour, but at least I get more solid contact. So yeah, you may be trading, and that's just initially. I think you'll get faster as you get better with it. But yeah, you might be trading a little bit of club head speed for ball speed. Ball speed's the most important thing. So if you can swing, 150 miles per hour, but you can't hardly make contact with the golf ball, then that's not as good as swinging 100 miles per hour and making super solid contact with the golf ball. But you may be able to train eventually be able to train yourself to be able to get that club head speed back up with the solid contact as well. So yeah. So as I mentioned, I would just be doing the one or the swings where you're just using your body only, and understand that it's going to be slow. Understand that it is, and then mesh them together after that. So Alton G says, good work, Q. Thanks. Would you show me what the chalked hands look like in the backswing and at the released? Chalked hands. I don't know what that means. Chalked or cocked hands? Maybe that's what he's trying to say. Cocked hands. Would you show me what the cocked hands look like in the backswing and at the release? So really, as you're bringing the club up, I tend to like to see a little bit less wrist cock initially. You can have more. See, this is where there's no hard and fast way that you have to do it. There's ways that I prefer to see for certain reasons. But basically, I like to see a little bit later of a wrist set. So the reason for that is typically if people wrist set early, what happens is they typically don't turn their shoulders very much because they already have the club back here a little bit. Whereas if I set my wrists later, well, look, I haven't really set my wrists at all, and look how much more of my shoulders are turned. It's really, really important to get the shoulders to turn. So that's a big part of it. But hey, if you're setting that wrist early and you're getting up here, I have no issue with that. That's going to be fine. And then we're going to have that wrist set at the top, and then typically we'll have what we call a secondary wrist set, where it sets even more from generating some lag, and then that lag starts to release as we come into contact. So we're going to get that. Basically, it starts releasing from about right here when that lead arm's parallel to the ground. That's when we're starting to lose that wrist cock here. We're starting to lose that. Now, typically also from here, I like to see a flat or even slightly bowed wrist. That's going to help you to get that club face square. If we're like this, as we're coming down, that face is going to be open. And typically what we're going to do is we're really going to flip and roll the club to square it up late at the end. And that's just difficult to be consistent when you do that. If you can have that wrist nice and flat or slightly bowed, the face is going to be mostly square already. And now we can just turn into the golf ball and have a square club face. So that's basically what I like to see. And then after contact, we go into that straight line release, which hopefully is about 45 degrees out in front. And then it's basically thumbs down, both of them. So wrists are both going to be in a neutral position and thumbs down in that straight line release. Now, you don't really need to focus on, nailing all these wrist positions. Just focus on the top speed golf system and work through the system and get these pieces right as you go through the system. So in the lag course, we talk about having the thumbs up at the top and then thumbs down in the straight line release. That's a great drill to get that sense and feeling of how that kind of wrist works. We have in the straight line release course, we have all these wrist drills where we're working on petting the grass and things like that. Some great drills in there. So in the top speed golf system, we go over the really important things about the wrist in there. Everything in between there is mostly just personal preference. Again, in the power turn, we talk about getting that wide, less wrist set initially. That's just to help you get a better power turn. So check out the top speed golf system. We go over all that stuff. To work through the top speed golf system, go to the top of the page, click the instruction tab, and then select top speed golf system and start working through the system. That's what I'd recommend doing. All right. So Elmer F says, if I could hit my driver consistently, I would be breaking par. Instead, I have a couple blow up holes and it's becoming so frustrating. What drills do you recommend I use? I need a little bit more information on what exactly the issue is with your driver. Are you hitting slices? You hooking it, topping it, chunking it, popping it up, hitting it, having trouble hitting it in certain parts of the face? Like, give me a little bit more detail about what's going on. I have no idea what the issue is. So yeah, it's hard for me to know exactly. If you'd like help, Specific help, we do offer unlimited swing review program. If you're not familiar with that, it's a program where you can actually send me a video of your swing, and we'll go over a plan to help you to start, doing whatever you want to do, hit your driver better, or whatever it might be. So yeah, give me some more information. But if you're interested in unlimited swing reviews, click that get a review link at the top of the page. That will take you to the swing review page where you can sign up for the waiting list. Highly recommend that you sign up for the waiting list because if you don't, then you may never get notified when swing review spots become available. Basically, whenever I open up spots or whatever, we have instructors open up spots, we send out an email to everybody that's on the waiting list as first come, first serve to those people. And typically we sell out to those people. If we don't sell out to those people, we'll send it out to the whole list. But that hasn't happened. I don't even think that's happened this year yet, in 2020. So there's been a high demand for swing reviews. So if you are interested, make sure that you join that waiting list. So that way you can get notified whenever we open up spots. And if you happen to see a spot available, go ahead and grab it if you want to get started. All right, so Robert D says, in the downswing, I'm really having trouble having my hands in front of my right hip when the club is parallel to the ground. Could it be that I'm not squatting enough at the start of the downswing? It's hard to say. Again, some of these questions are so tough because it's really impossible for me to say without actually seeing your swing because it's so specific to what you may be doing. But I'll tell you there's three things. Excuse me, my voice is a little bit scratchy today. There's basically three things that I see that where players have trouble getting into that position. The position that he's talking about is when you're coming down into contact. Typically, when you look at the best players, typically when the club is parallel to the ground for the first time in the downswing, their hands are somewhere around right in front of their trail thigh. That's typically what you're going to see in the best players. What you're going to see in most amateurs is you're going to see when the hands are in front of the trail thigh, the club's like this, right? So it's already kind of releasing. It's releasing early. So the three biggest reasons why I see people release the club early. One is the biggest reason, I believe, is that it's how they're used to squaring up the face. So releasing the club early is a means to square the face. If I put my angle finder on here and I just lean this shaft forward, that opens the face. If I lean it backwards, it closes the face. So leaning it backwards is, in a sense, releasing the club early. That closes the club face. That's a means to square the face. If the face is open and you release it early, that's a means to square the face. So what you have to do is you have to square the face in a different way. You have to get the face square earlier in the swing. So that way, when you get your hands in front, the face isn't open. If I just come in here, I don't change my wrist angles. I use the same wrist angles I had before, and I just push my hands forward. Well, the face is wide open. And intuitively, you're not going to do that. Everything we do is in an effort to get the ball to start in the direction that we want you to hit it straight, right? That's what we're geared to do. So instinctively, we're not just going to come in with an open club face and hit it 45 degrees out to the right. We're going to flip the face to square it up. And that's happening in here, right? So what we have to do is we have to get this face square earlier in the swing. So that way we can continue to rotate, have the hands in front with an already square face, and we don't have to worry about that happening. So it's a difficult thing to train. Excuse me. It's one of the most difficult things in the golf swing to do, to be honest. There's a reason why the straight line release course is not, because basically the straight line release is partially a product of being in this position right here, that position right there, and that's where the straight line release happens. So there's a reason why the straight line release is not the first piece of the top speed golf system. It's the last one, and it's the most difficult thing to train in the golf swing. It's because it's when things are happening the fastest, and it's directly related to squaring up the face. So that's one of the big reasons. So the straight line release course is going to be great for that. Also, the move course is going to be great for that because it's going to help you to start squaring the face earlier in the swing. So that's the number one reason. It's a reason why a lot of people tell me, I can get in a practice swing, I can get forward shaftling, I can get all this stuff, and it looks perfect. But whenever you add the golf ball, I go back to flipping. Well, when you're in a practice swing, you don't need to square up the face because there's no golf ball. And I would bet pretty much all those people, I've bet them all money that if they looked at impact with their swing without the golf ball, their club face would be wide open. So that's the number one reason. The second reason, the second largest reason, is because coming down steep in transition. So if I'm up here at the top and I start down steep like this, meaning the club is more vertical, well, in order to get this club back on plane, I have to stand up. Because when I stand up, that raises the handle, drops the head, and now I got that club on plane. But the problem is I've stood up, and when I stand up, I have to throw the club at the ball to get to it. Because if I stand up but then swing with forward shaftling, I'm a foot above the golf ball. Intuitively, none of us are going to do that. We're going to flip the club to get to the golf ball. So that's a big reason. So the move, getting this club to where it's shallowed out, so now I don't have to make a compensation. I can stay in my posture and I can rotate through. So that's reason number two. The third biggest reason is just casting from the very beginning. And I think people do this because it feels very powerful. They get it here and then they just want to throw it and get it going right away. So that's going to be the top speed lag course. Typically what we want to have, what I see in a lot of people is they get here and right from here, this angle between the arm and the shaft here, my lead arm and the shaft, it starts getting bigger from the very beginning. And if you do that, you're basically going to end up right there, right? Well, what you see in the best players is they get here and that angle typically gets smaller as they come down to about right here when the lead arm's parallel to the ground. Then from there, it starts to get a little bit bigger. And see, now we're in that area. That's what you're going to see. Now, some players are going to have a crazy amount of lag. You know, you're going to see like a Phil Mickelson, Sergio Garcia. They're going to be like that. Crazy sharp angle there. And you're going to see some players like a Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas. They're at the top, and the angle just gets a little bit smaller. It's going to be more like that. That's either one of those is completely fine. Obviously, those are all great players that I just mentioned there. It's just a matter of, you need to have that angle getting smaller in whatever capacity. It can't be going like this right away because you're already releasing the club too early. So that's a big part of it as well. So look at your swing and see where you kind of fall in those categories. You see it's a cast from the very beginning. Do you see that the club is steep? Do you see, you see none of those things and you just see at impact, you just do this? Well, if it's just a flip at impact, you're not coming down steep, you're not casting, straight line release is where you want to go. If you see that you're casting right away, you want to go to the top speed lag course. If you see that you're steep and or you're casting, the move course, getting that club shallow out is going to be good. So work on those drills accordingly. And the number one advice I can give you with this is that the reason why people struggle with this so much is, one, it's the most difficult thing to change. And two, that it goes along with that is that because it's the most difficult thing to change, it takes a lot of patience, time, and persistence. This is not like just fixing a slice. Like fixing a slice, you just swing to the right and close the face. That's not a difficult thing to do. I can typically get people who are slicers within 10 minutes, I can get them to start hitting little hooks very, very quickly. But people who are flippers, who are casters, it's not going to take 10 minutes to be in this kind of position there, unless they're just doing little chip shots like that. But in a full swing, no way. There's no way they're going to start doing that. So it takes a lot of time and repetition. You just got to be patient with it and stick with it. Try to get a little bit better every time. Start out slow, build up the speed from there. I think a lot of people go through this kind of stuff and they expect it to be like that, very, very quick. You're trying to change motor patterns, and the reason why this is the most difficult thing to do is because it's happening at the time in the swing that it's happening where things are moving the fastest. And also it's happening at a time in the swing where you're trying to get everything lined up. So you have a motor pattern that's attached to squaring up the face, to swinging on plane, to making ball first contact. When you change the way that you move and the way that you move this club, you're changing your coordination with being able to control those pieces of contact that are really, really important. And you just can't do it. That's why maybe you get forward shaft lean, but the face is 45 degrees open. Or maybe you get forward shaft lean, but you top it or you thin it because you don't have the coordination to move your body that way fast and be able to hit the ball in the center of the face, hit the ball with a square club face, and all those things. So that's why you have to break it down, go really, really slow, and really just work through it. And that's the best advice I can give you. So work through those pieces. And again, if you want to, the best way to do this is to work with an instructor through it. I have several. This is a very, very, I would say 80 to 85% of the players that I work with were at least flipping the club when they first came to me. So it's very, very common. And I would say half of those people, at least half, I would say, have wanted to work on it and are working on it right now, or have worked on it and improved it, or gotten to where they want to be. Of those people, there's a lot of them that just quit because it's too much of a pain in the butt to do it. It really is, because it's a lot of time and repetition. So, but the best way to do it is to do it, with the eye of an instructor on you, making sure you're on the right track the whole way. So again, if you're interested in the swing reviews, join the waiting list for that, or if there's a spot available, go ahead and grab it. I'm not sure. I don't think there are any, but go ahead and do that. But that's what I would recommend doing. But work in the meantime, if you want to work through it on your own, work through those pieces on the website. Click the house icon at the top of the page. That'll take you to the home page. Scroll down the home page. You'll see a list of all the courses. The top speed lag, the move, the straight line release. Those are all the ones that you want to work through with that. One last note on that. We'll move on to the next one. Next question. I don't want anyone to feel like they cannot play great golf if they have a flip or they release the club early. You absolutely can. You can. Now it's a little bit harder to be consistent. Your swing is going to be a little bit more reliant on timing. But the things in golf that are really, really important as far as contact are concerned is center face contact, ball first contact, square club face, and path, basically path and face that match your intent, right? So if you're trying to hit a draw, you need face close to the path. Trying to hit a fade, you need face open to the path. Trying to hit straight, you need face and path lined up, right, and at the target. So you can flip the club, and all of those pieces can be really, really good. And that's the most important thing. Now you're going to be adding loft, right? You're not going to be de-lofting it and compressing it as much as a tour player, but you're still going to be able to hit a golf ball where you want it to go. So this is where a lot of people get to, is they get to our top speed golf system and they feel like, well, I'm never going to be a good golfer if I can't do the straight line release. And that couldn't be further from the truth. There's a lot of great players out there. I wouldn't say tour players. I mean, you're not going to be a tour player most likely. You're probably not going to win your state amateur or anything like that. If that's your goal, then yeah, you do need to work through it and get there. But if your goal is to be a 10 handicapper, or even a low handicapper, you can release the club early and play good. You just have to work on your ball striking and things like that, which is an easier thing to work on than the straight line release. Anyway, moving forward here. So Gufron A asks, twisting the club to keep the face square at impact. Again, I don't know what you're asking me. So that's the move. So that's twisting. That's how a lot of tour players square up the face. Most amateurs are squaring up the face by flipping and rolling the club, early release, flipping and rolling. Most tour players are squaring the face earlier in the swing. And like this, Morikawa, he's a very prime example. If you look at his swing, as he's getting up to the top of the swing, he's actually starting to square the face. He's getting it like that. And then as he starts down, he gets it even more. And that face is basically already square, and he just turns into impact. There's not a lot of rolling of the face. So that face is square, 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 all the way through. That's why he's a very, very consistent ball striker. That drive that he hit on 16 yesterday, I mean, it's like a video game. He just placed it right there right next to the hole, basically. So you have to have excellent face control to be able to do that. And that's what he's doing. He's twisting that. That's this motion of the wrist, the lead wrist, right? Almost like a throttle. And then the trail wrist is more like that. So if I put those together, you can see that manipulates the face. I don't know if you have a question about that or if that's just a statement, but make sure that when you're asking stuff, it's actually like a full, like proofread it before you send it. Because otherwise, I don't know how I can help you. I don't know what you're asking. So John L says, can you help demonstrate how to create the best impact glide while not making it too long and not too short? What is the best height above the ground? Do you always have your hands when starting to release the lag? It seems to me that if it's much harder to time an impact glide if you are sitting very close to the ground on your downswing and you start releasing too high above the ground, not sitting due, and then it cut off. So basically, impact glide is essentially where the club is coming through fairly level with the turf. So we hit down and through the ball, and it's almost like it's taking the club's kind of taking the turf off like a razor blade. You know, it's not digging way down, and you're not picking it. It's just like taking it off the turf like a razor blade. So how that works is basically my hands get here, right, and the club head, the handle starts to work up. So by about this point in the swing, the handle has reached its lowest point, and then it starts to work up. And as that starts to work up, the club head is moving down. And when the handle moves up, as the club head is moving down, that's the impact glide that we're talking about. That creates kind of a level spot. So it's almost like you get here, and then it's moving up as it's moving down, and that kind of creates this little flat spot. Now it's not completely flat. It's not like flat is the ground. It's still going to be, it's just a much bigger arc. It's still an arc. It's just a much bigger arc. It's a flatter arc that ends up coming in. That's why when you look at tour players, a lot of times you see it's just like they just shave that top layer of the turf. They had that, there's a video going around that showed, it was like a fast motion video showing every shot. It was just like a close-up of the contact of every shot of Tiger Woods' range session. And it was a comical video. It was just shot. It just showed every single one. Every single divot was just shaving that top layer of turf off, just shaving it off, like it's just a razor blade, like a 1/4 inch of the turf is what's taken off. Now, ground conditions, if it's really hard, dry conditions, you may not take much of a divot at all. If it's really like muddy, wet conditions, really soft, you may take a lot more than a 1/4 inch, maybe an inch of turf that you take out, just because the club's just going to go in there so easily. So the conditions are going to dictate a lot of that, but for the most part, that's just how this works. Is you get your hands low and you work the hands up. It's not really a timing thing, and that's what we talk about in the compression line course. Is that so? If you want to learn more about the impact glide to work through and do the impact glide drills, that's going to be in the compression line course. I believe it's in level 3. So to get to the compression line course, click the house icon. That's going to take you to the homepage. Go to the compression line and start working through those drills if that's what you're wanting to do. So Gufrae says, explain closing, opening the doorknob during downswing. Can you explain? So what the doorknob is not actually the closing of the face. When we're talking about turning the doorknob, we're actually talking about that's rotation of the forearms. That's what's helping you to shallow the club. So imagine if I go and I open a door, right? I'm grabbing the doorknob and I'm twisting it like that. So if I have my club and I do that, that's not a means. That's not this motion. That's different than that. That's shallowing the club. Same thing here. I'm turning the doorknob to the right with both hands. If I'm a right-handed golfer, that's what I'm doing. That's shallowing the club. That's not squaring the face. That's shallowing the club. Squaring the face, twisting the face is this motion. That's That's the lead wrist going like that. That's the trail wrist going like that. That's the squaring of the face. That's the twisting of the handle. So what we want to move is both of those things. That's the move where we're shallow, we're turning the doorknob to the right and twisting the handle. That's the move right there. And if we get the club like that, that's what you're going to see basically every single tour player, anybody who's really good anyway, is doing that. Morikawa, if you look at his swing, I mean, perfect display of the move. Morikawa, the guy who just won the PGA Championship, perfect display of the move. He's absolutely doing that. So the turning of the doorknob is separate from the twisting of the face, but those are both the move. Those two put together is one move. Excuse me. So Greg D says, I don't hook any club in my bag except the 2 hybrids I carry. Why? Thank you. It's probably just different shaft. Might be a different head setup. It may look like it's set up. It's all kind of like how it looks to the eye. So like you may look down your hybrid and it may look like it's square, but it's actually closed and you hook it. Maybe for some reason with your hybrid, you strengthen your grip too much, right? Because that's going to help you to close the face. What I see a lot of times with people with hybrids, they kind of view them a little bit more like woods. Play your hybrids exactly like you play your irons. But a lot of people view them more like woods. So they play them too far up in the stance. And then naturally, when you do that, a lot of times you'll get more tilt and you'll strengthen your grip as a product of that. And now I'm closing my face as I'm coming in. So it's hard to say without seeing your swing exactly, but I would just try to, one, ball position, play it just like you would with an iron. Ball position I like for irons, and this is just what I do, not necessarily what you have to do. Most people are going to be in this range, but just one ball ahead of the middle of the stance is where I am with irons. So that would be right here. So this is the middle of my stance right here. There's one ball forward. That's allowing me the best position. Now, you may like it. I like to have wedges right in the middle of my stance, so that'd be a wedge. I like to play my wedges about right there. I like to play hybrids 2 balls forward of that. So very, very similar hybrids and fairway woods, 2 balls forward of that. Allows me to come in a little bit more shallow. But wow, a lot of times what I see people do is they have it, it's like their driver. They got way too far forward. When you do that, you're going to have more tilt. And a lot of times with more tilt comes a stronger grip, and you may be closing the face too much when you do that. It's hard to say without seeing your swing, but I just try to hit cuts. Try to have the face open, maybe set up with the face open, weaken the grip, try to feel like you're swinging more out to in, try to hit little cut shots. You also may be hitting it off the toe. That's the other thing that could be going on. If you hit it off the toe, you're going to tend to hit hooks due to something called gear effect. When the ball hits the toe, the face actually twists open a little bit. So the ball will typically start a little bit more to the right than it normally would, but then it will start to roll toward the center of the face, and that puts that hook spin on there. So it could also be, that's probably most likely the issue is you're probably hitting it off the toe. So look at those things they're having. Like I wish a lot of these questions are really, really difficult because it's impossible for me to know unless I actually see what's going on. But toe strike is most likely culprit. The other ones would be, I would look at your ball position. You can move it a little bit further back, maybe weaken the grip, open the face, try to hit cuts to get that working a little bit better. All right, so Don C says, what can I do to correct pull shots as I rotate through? I've tried to come further from the inside swing path while rotating through, but I'm still getting slight pulls. Well, you're not swinging inside out enough. That's all that means. You just need to swing more inside out. So if you're rotating, I would swing as far out to the right as you possibly can. The easiest way to get your path working more into out, and I've showed this in office hours in the past, this is the easiest way to do it. So what I'd do is I'd set up kind of a swing station, and I would set up some constraints that would force you to swing into out. If you don't, then you'll hit these constraints, right? So I would set up, so I'm trying to create a path that's into out. So I would set up these constraints to where I have to swing into out. There's no way I can swing. Even if I swung on plane, I would hit these things, right? So if this is on plane, I'd probably hit that one, and I'd probably hit that one. So for to get your path more into out, you're setting it ahead and to the left. If you're right-handed, ahead and to the left, and behind and to the right. And I would set these up pretty tight, so where I'm set up to this, I have to swing in this direction. Otherwise, I'm going to hit them, right? So I would try to rotate and swing really, really open like that. And you'll probably hit some out to the right, and then close that face as you're doing that to get it to start hitting some big old hooks. They have to start to the right and curve to the left. You're right-handed, so start to the right, curve to the left. Do it in a short swing first, short, slow swing. Build up the swing and the length of the swing little by little by little until eventually you're getting to where you're able to do this in a full swing, full speed, big hooks, start to the right, curve to the left. Once you do that, then I would just ease off of these restraints a little bit. So I just move that a little bit that way, move that a little bit that way. And then I would just try to make, instead of the big hooks, let's do little draws. And again, I would start out slow and slow, short, build up the speed, build up the speed, build up the speed. Once you get to where you're at full speed, you're hitting nice little draws. Get these out of the way and do the same thing. Oops. And do the same thing with that. Do the same thing, get that feeling, that same feeling that I had there, and try to hit, start out slow again, try to hit little draws. That's all. That's the best way to do it, because that's going to tell you it's going to give you feedback right away if you are if you're coming too much into out. Well, too much into out would be difficult to do with that. Too much out to in is what I mean. So focus on that rotation. Focus on, basically, you just need to swing as far out to the into out as you possibly can. Or you might be over rotating. That could be part of it too. Rotate less so that you can swing on plane. It's more important to swing on plane than to have rotation. Because all rotation is really helping you to do is helping you to get some speed, and it's also helping you to get the body or to get the club to release more out in front, right? So if you're, which is going to help you de-loft it and to get more speed and distance, but you need that speed and distance isn't going to do you any good if you're yanking the ball every single time, or if you're slicing it, it's not going to do you much good because you're going to lose distance from that. So try to get the path worked out first and then build up the speed from there. All right. So Mark Z says, I'm not getting any rollout for my tee shots. I can see a divot in the fairway only a few feet away from my ball. How can I reduce the spin on my driver and hit higher up on the club face? So I would get to where you're hitting up on the golf ball. So hitting up on the golf ball with less loft is what you want to do. So right now you're probably flipping, right? You're probably flipping, adding a lot of loft and a lot of spin. What you need to do is you need to reduce the loft and hit up on the golf ball. So to hit up on the golf ball, tee the ball higher, place them further up in your stance, a little bit wider of a stance. I would try to get to where you're at least kind of outside your shoulders apart. But place the ball be just outside your lead shoulder here, so somewhere in this area. That's going to promote a more upward angle of attack. And we don't want to slide forward. We want to stay up through it. And then next, we want to de-loft the face. So de-lofting is going to come from those pieces that I talked about earlier. If you're casting the club from the very beginning, if you are coming down steep, if you are flipping the club through impact, those are the top speed lag course. Those are the top speed or the straight line release course. That's the move course. You may want to work through those courses. We also have a video on the website. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That it can kind of be a quick drill that you can go through, but most likely you're going to need to do some stuff. It's going to take some time to get to where you're really going to be able to do it very well. So let me. I think it's called like swing slower and hit it further or something like that. Let me see if I can find it. Yep. So D046. Watch that video. That one's going to go all over that information for you. D046. search it in the search engine. So if you go on the website in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little search box. Search D as in dog 046. Swing the club slower for more distance. And that one will go over kind of all the information in more detail and a drill for you. But really, it's going to come down to the setup to hit more up on the golf ball, and then those pieces, depending on what's going on in your swing, the lag, the move, or the straight line release, to get that club more de-lofted at impact. But if you're on a mobile device and you want to search video, go in the upper right-hand corner. There is a little icon there that's 3 horizontal lines. Select that. That'll expand the menu. At the bottom of that menu, if you scroll down, you'll find the search box there. Search the video there. All right, so in 18 minutes left. I think there's a lot of questions left. I apologize if I do not get to everybody's. There's a lot of people in here today, so I apologize if I'm not going to get to everybody's question. Let me go back. All right, so Tom M says, "Hi Q, I'm new to Top Speed, but the lessons I have seen so far don't differentiate much between wood swings and iron swings. Aside from ball position, are the swings the same, or are there other differences?" It's basically the same. The swing mechanics are the same. They'll be slightly different just because, but that's really just dictated by the setup. So, you know, with a wedge, you know, if you look at our spine angle for a wedge, it's going to be typically more vertical. It's still going to be a little bit slightly angled away, but it's not going to be as much as it would with a driver. So a wedge, I'm playing the ball more in the middle of my stance. I have a narrower stance, right? That's putting me right there. If I have an iron, I have a little bit wider of a stance, falls a little bit more forward. So my if I have my hands, if I'm treating the club as an extension of my lead arm here, my right hand kind of has to drop more, and you can see I have a little bit more spine angle. Now with the driver, the ball's a little bit more forward. I have a little bit wider of a stance. And again, club extension lead arm is more, so the hands are more out in front. I have more tilt, right? This is basically with a driver. So, but the swings are basically the same. The only difference is the sensation at contact. That's why people get off with it, is because they feel like it's such a different swing. The mechanics of it really aren't that much different. It's just that the sensation at impact is so different, because with a driver, you're not hitting the ground, and you're letting the club bottom out usually and hit more up into the golf ball, or very level into the golf ball. Whereas with an iron, the ball's further back in your stance, you're contacting it sooner in the swing, you're making ball first contact, then you're hitting the ground afterwards. And so it's a different sensation. That's why it seems very different, but the actual mechanics of what's going on are basically the same. The only difference is that where the ball is being contacted at. And obviously it feels different because the club's longer, so a lot of times the swing will get a little bit flatter, but these are all dictated by the club and the setup. There isn't anything you have to physically think about or do differently mechanics-wise with the driver versus an iron. It's basically going to be the same. All right, so Drew D says, describe what the trailing leg function should be in the downswing. I often chunk the ball when I try to start my downswing by pushing first with my trailing leg. Yeah, so you're pushing too late. So right away in the backswing, right? We want to start loading up into this trail leg. So we're loading up right away, and then as we get to about right here, somewhere in this area between waist level and where the hands are at shoulder level, you're actually starting to push, right? And now I'm getting to my lead side. And then here I'm already at my lead side. Now I'm pushing more into my lead leg, and my trail leg is it's just kind of straightening out and coming along for the ride. It's not trying to stay on the ground. It's just allowing it to rotate through and get all the way up on your trail foot. So the trail leg doesn't have a lot of function in the downswing. It's more the lead leg pushing everything open. You just don't want your trail leg to restrict that. You want your trail leg to be loose and allow it to come all the way up. If you're at the top of the swing and then you start pushing there, well, you're probably already you're already here in the downswing, it's too late. That's why you're probably chunking. So you need to get here, get there, and then you're already in your lead side before your downswing starts. So hey Q, any trail hand grip pointer? Any trail hand grip pointer? The only thing with the trail hand and the grip, the main thing is just if you take your pinky and your thumb and you kind of squeeze them together, you see how that creates a crease in my hand there? Well, when I do that, that crease needs to go right on top of my thumb, right? That's the most conventional way. Now I see some people, they'll be a little bit stronger with it, and that's fine. And I see some people are weaker with it, right? That's fine too, if that allows you to hit the ball better. But this is the most conventional, where that crease is right there. That's really the only thing that's really important about that trail hand grip. Excuse me. So Richard A goes on to say, also, is it okay if my front knee dip on the backswing? Front knee dip. Yeah, so yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you're going to be, as you're going up the top, your knee is going to be dipping a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. It should be dipping a little bit. So Jared C says, hey Q, hope all is well. Any feel pointers to help clear the hips on the downswing? I'd say the best feel is, one, get that good weight shift to the lead side. So I would try to get to where you actually have pressure in that lead foot before the club starts down, right? So I think that's one of the biggest reasons why people struggle with using their legs properly, is because they don't get that weight shift and they don't fall into their lead side. Basically, they get up to the top and then they start their weight shift at the top of the swing. It's too late by that time. That weight shift needs to be happening sooner. You need to be falling into, if you look at tour player swings, as they get up to the top, they're falling into their lead side. And then from there, they're getting that. That's the other piece, is we need to fall into the lead side, right? So in order to clear the hips, you have to get the body to work down. You kind of have to do that squat move. If you kind of get here and then you just slide and like this, you're not going to be opening up your hips. You're probably just going to go like this and throw the club. You need to get down. You fall into your lead side, your knees need to move apart, and you get down, and then from there, you can rotate open. If I'm like this, I can't really open my hips very well. But if I'm like this, I can really maneuver my hips around everywhere. So that's what it comes down to, getting the proper weight shift, falling into the lead side properly. So Michael J says, in Clay's video regarding weight shift, and then doesn't say anything else, so we'll skip that. Brian Anthony R says, would you kindly do an overview of the step drill from the 20-minute distance fix? Thanks. Because we have a lot of questions, just go to the 20-minute distance fix step drill and watch the video. I can't really demonstrate it very well in here because I'm in an office. Just go to the 20-minute distance fix, search sumo step, and just basically you just put your feet together, start the backswing, step forward, and swing through. That's what the step drill is, and a very brief overview. But you'll be better served just to go to the video, sumo step, search sumo step. If we didn't have 100 questions on here right now, I would go through it. But so Wilfred S says, how can I build speed with my driver swing? Work through the 20-minute distance fix course. That's the best thing you can do. It's our distance program. Highly recommend it. So go to the top of the page there and click the instruction tab, then click the 20-minute distance fix and get started on the drills. So Michael J says he refers to squatting or sitting down motion on the downswing to help with the weight transfer. What I'm finding is if I do that, move, I'm hitting behind the ball and taking relatively deep divot suggestions. Yeah, so you're probably just squatting and then throwing the club. You've got to squat and rotate the body and release it more out in front. So if you just squat and do, if before you were kind of doing this in the swing, right? Early release, not a good weight shift. And you went from squatting and then doing the early release, yeah, you're going to hit a mile behind the golf ball. So you have to get that proper weight shift and then release the club more out front. So I'd recommend the move or straight line release. It's hard to say without seeing your swing, but most likely that is the reason. So Gufran, I'm gonna because we have a lot of questions, I may come back to yours, but we'll answer some questions from people who haven't asked yet. So I may come back to you, Gufran. So Cal S says, is there accepted ratio between ball speed and club head speed? So you're talking about what's referred to as smash factor. So the best smash factor you can typically get for a driver is around 1.5. So if you swung 100 miles per hour, the best club head speed you can expect would be, or the best ball speed you could expect would be around 150 miles per hour. So the more loft you add, the more the smash factor is going to go down. So like for a wedge, your smash factor might be like 1.1. So if you swung your wedge 100 miles per hour, which would be very fast for a wedge, but if you swung your wedge 100 miles per hour, you could maybe expect 110 mile per hour ball speed. That's just because there's more loft. So there's less energy being transferred to the golf ball. That's basically what smash factor is. That's the amount of energy being transferred from the club to the golf ball. So 1.5 is the most you can get with a driver. Wedges are typically going to be somewhere around 1.1, like a 56-degree wedge plug, and then everything in between there, you know, it's going to scale down from there. So like a 7-iron would probably be like 1.3 something. A 7-iron would most likely be. And the more you de-loft it, the more smash factor you can get, and the more you add loft. So that's like an average tour player, I would say it would be about 1.3 something with a 7-iron. An average amateur would probably be around 1.3, 1.25 or something like that, because most amateurs add loft. So that's going to reduce the ball speed. But it'll be different with all the clubs. So Michael I says, I really liked the segment on the move, but I noticed the videos, all show swings with irons. How about the driver and fairway metals? Am I supposed to make the similar move? I know I need to open my hips, the shots, but how about the rolling over? So the move applies to all clubs. It's all clubs. What the move basically means, the move, if this is the best way to think about it, the move is getting the club on plane and square as soon as possible in the downswing. That's what the move is. The move is getting the club on plane and square as soon as possible in the downswing. So what most people do is they come down, the club is steep, so it's not on plane, right? And the face is open. And then they get down here and it's like, well, crap. If I continue down like this, I'm going to swing way over the top with an open face. So we're geared to hit the ball straight. So what do? We stand up. That gets my club working from the inside. And then we flip and roll the hands over to square the face. That's the opposite of what the move is. And that's what we see most. Unfortunately, that's a lot of people's natural inclination is to do that. So what the move is just getting the face or getting the club shallow early in transition, right? And then squaring that face earlier. So that way we can stay in our posture and rotate into the golf ball. You want to do that with every single club, driver, wedge. You even want to do it on chip shots, right? On chip shots. Now you're probably not going to feel like you need to, but if you're bringing if you're chipping and your chips kind of look like this, you need to get that club more on plane and squaring earlier. So that way you don't have to flip and cut across it. You're going to have a hard time being consistent. So that's what that is. It's just getting the club on plane and square earlier in the swing. If you think about it that way, it's the easiest way to get it. So Bryson N says, what equipment do I need to get Swing Review? You just need your phone, smartphone. You download an app. It's called V1 Golf. And then you sign up for the service. You're going to get some directions. We'll send you instructions on how to send it. But yeah, you just need your smartphone. And you know, if you need to be able to go to a driving range and be able to hit golf balls. Practice swings are not going to work. Your practice swing is not going to be the same as it is with a golf ball. So practice swings in the backyard aren't going to work with Swing Reviews. If you don't have the ability to go to a driving range, you need to get a net, actually hit some golf balls and a mat or something like that. But yeah, you may want to get like a tripod phone mount, something like that, or a selfie golf contraption to hold your phone. There's all kinds of options out there to hold your phone. So you may need something like that, so you can set that up. But yeah, it's just the app on your phone is the only thing you really need. So Chris B says, in the downswing, the left heel is up. In the downswing, the left heel is up. Then the left heel goes down when you rotate into impact. So you're saying in the backswing, the left heel is up. Yeah. So if you're trying to free up the hips some more, it may be a good idea to lift this heel off the ground. So that's the lead heel here. So as we go up to the top, then we're falling to our lead side and we're pushing into the ground and we're rotating. Yeah. So lift heel can come off to free up the hips, and then it needs to get back down on the ground as you're starting that transition, so that way you can get pressure into the ground. So Rodney B says, I notice I lose some width in my backswing with the trail elbow collapsing some. What is the best drill I can work on to keep from losing width? What I would do is I'd place a club or something on the ground, kind of like this, and I would angle it out like that. So if this is my stance, I would angle it out like that, and I would bring this club up to first parallel and then just try to match your club up to that. So you can see there, I'm not collapsing this inside. Now, I would only work on this if this is actually causing you issues in your swing, because it may not. We need to be careful with taking these ideas that maybe we heard we don't want to do that in the swing, because it may not be an issue for you as it might be for someone else. So if you look at JB Holmes, right? JB Holmes brings the club way inside like this, collapses the elbow in, brings the club up to the top, shallows it out nicely in the downswing. If you're doing that, then I wouldn't even worry about that. But if you're bringing this club inside and then you're here and then you're coming over the top, then this could be an issue, and you may want to work on getting this club going more up. So I would just work on keeping that right arm straight as long as possible, right? Getting it out here, matching it up there, then continuing up to the top, and just drill that until it becomes second nature. So Philip A says, does light grip pressure make it more difficult to avoid casting or flipping rather than, you didn't finish it. So, you need to be putting some pressure into the handle. So this idea that you're going to be able to have light grip pressure throughout the swing you can't. You have to hold. You're going to be hitting this with any kind of power. You have to put pressure into the handle. So at address, we definitely want to have really light grip pressure, right? So if we're saying out of 10, I would say like a 2, 3 out of 10 at address. As you start going up, though, it's going to go up to like a 4, right? And it's going to get higher and higher and higher. And then basically as you come into contact right here with your lead hand, it's going to be like a 10 out of 10, right? So, and as you're coming down here with your trail hand, it's going to be quite a bit, right? It's going to be, the problem is that most people get they get a lot of pressure in their trail hand right here. And that's where that casting comes from. So we want to have light pressure in that trail hand. It's almost like if I were throwing a ball sidearm, right? Most people act like they're throwing a ball sidearm right into the ground, not out toward a target. So if I was throwing a ball out toward the target, the biggest pressure I would have into that ball would be right in here, and then I'd be letting it go. But if I'm throwing a ball right here as hard as I can, my biggest pressure is right here. And that's what most people are doing. That's why they're casting it. So you want to have light right here, and then it's more pressure here, so you can throw that club and release it out in front. So again, Groove Ryan, you've asked a lot of questions. So sorry, I'm gonna skip you to get to people who haven't, just because there's a lot on here, and we're right at 6 right now. So probably take a couple more, then I'll wrap it up. So Mel V says, question about lag at the top of the backswing. My trail arm is about 90 degrees. Okay, as I transition to the slot, as I lead with my elbow, can you explain what happens to the arm angle as I go to the move? So if you're at 90 degrees with the trail arm, that's pretty good. I would say that's good. A lot of people get this, they kind of get this stuck behind them, and then they got to throw the club from there. So I would say if you're at 90 degrees there, it's good. It's going to slowly start to get, because as you get to about right here, it's going to be a little bit more, and as you're continuing, as you're rotating and kind of throwing it. So it's basically going to go from 90 degrees to slowly more as you can continue to throw it. So if you imagine here, you're at 90 degrees here, and you can see the arm as you're coming in, you're rotating, and you're shallowing out that club, and you're getting it to work in line with that arm. You can see it's just like if you were to throw a ball sidearm, right? It's the same motion. It's the same motion. I have my arm at 90 degrees, and you can see I'm letting it go. Here I'm at 90, and I'm letting it go. It's straightening out as I'm coming through. And as I get into the straight line release, then I'm completely straight. Just like if I were throwing a ball like that. So this will probably be the last question here. I gotta go. Sorry, sorry I wasn't able to answer everybody's questions. A lot of questions and people in here today. So Terrence B says, "What's the best one video to show the wife who is just starting golf and does all the no-nos?" I just have her go. We have a beginner video. If you want to take a look at that, just search the word beginner on the website. Let me make sure that is on the website. Other than that, I just work her through the system, get her all the level ones, go through all the level ones. Yeah, so there's a video that we have for that Robin did a while ago, a couple of years ago, for the 6 steps on how to build a golf, how to swing the club for beginners. I'd check that out. It's a good one to go through. Beyond that, I would go to the Top Speed Golf System, work her through the Top Speed Golf System, go through it together. I mean, it would be a good thing to go through it together. So G081 is the one for the beginner video. So just search that, or you can go to the general vault, but search G is in go, 081 in the upper right hand corner. There's that search box there. So again, I apologize, everybody. I wasn't able to answer everybody's questions. We ran out of time today. I tried to go as fast as I could, but I do apologize. Hopefully everybody can make it tomorrow. We can answer more of your questions then. Everybody have a good rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you soon.